Supporter of Innovation in Ontario. John Ruffalo is the founder of Owners Ventures and the co-founder and vice chair of the Council of Canadian Innovators. John sits on the board of a number of leading innovation-based organizations, including Hootsuite, Ether Capital, and on our own board at Ontario Centres of Excellence. Please join me in welcoming John Ruffalo.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate the introduction, and thank you for everyone by making the time to attend this important event. As Tom mentioned, I am a proud member of the board of OCE, and as many of you know, the Ontario Centres of Excellence is a key player in the financing ecosystem of Ontario-based startups. And I just can't imagine where we would be over the last 10 years without OCE. So a round of applause for the great OCE. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to spend the next 10 minutes or so just really giving an overview of how I've seen or how I see the future by taking a little look at the recent past and then applying to where I see Canada going. In August 2011, technology legend Mark Andreessen wrote in his eponymous article entitled "Why Software is Eating the World," which became the central investment thesis behind his venture capital firm Andreessen Horowitz. Like so many predictions about technology before this, Andreessen's prognostication has since followed Amara's law, which aptly states, "We tend to overestimate the effect of a technology in the short run, but underestimate the effect in the long run." Mark's vision is in full force, and the feast has just really begun. We are in the midst of the fourth industrial revolution, or as some refer to it, the information revolution. Although the magnitude of the changes compares to the disruptive shifts arising from the first industrial revolution of the 1800s, it is the rate of change that is unprecedented. When did this latest revolution commence? In my view, it really began to take shape in 2008. And it was catalyzed by three very powerful forces that all came together at the same time. Mobility first, cloud computing, and social media. All three forces collided together with full impact in 2008, spawning an unprecedented wave of new technology companies. The mobility first era was really born shortly after the introduction of Apple's iPhone in 2007, which actually leveraged off of Canada's own BlackBerry before that. But it was really the subsequent iStore and the value of data which really became the disruptive force. Around the same time, cloud computing finally came of age, with the concerns around security and latency largely solved with ever-increasing chip capabilities, as illustrated by the launch of Amazon Web Services in 2006. And thirdly, the likes of Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter all crossed the chasm around 2008 and dramatically changed how communities interact on the internet. Through these three forces being unleashed, the promise of the internet in the 1990s as a place where you can get what you want, when you want it, and whichever way you want to consume it, was finally realized around 2008. And the rise of the technology industry since then has been unprecedented, far exceeding what we witnessed in the 1990s while the technology infrastructure layer was being built. Interestingly, I believe that the key technological event that spawned the web revolution of the 1990s directly involved, yes, you guessed it, Mark Andreessen. In late 1994, Mosaic Communications Corporation, co-founded by Mark, launched the Netscape browser, and the consumer internet was born. I believe we are embarking on the next phase of the fourth industrial revolution through the rise of the disruptors. While technology companies will continue to grow and prosper, we are witnessing the enablement of those technologies across all economic sectors as the leading weapon used by new entrants to disrupt the traditional incumbents in their respective industries. The massive influx of venture capital to support the building and growth of technology companies over the last 10 years has produced these tools, which are now being leveraged by all industries, such as artificial intelligence, machine learning, the Internet of Things, and the like. Those companies that can harness these new technologies to operate better, faster, cheaper, and to gain insights into their customers like never before will prosper. Although these disruptors are not technology companies in the conventional sense, their tight focus on value creation through innovation further blurs the line between a technology company and a traditional company. Hence the popularization of terms like fintech, health tech, prop tech, ed tech, and the like. The incumbents, however, are not asleep at the wheel. They too are realizing that they must defend themselves by weaponizing technology and warding off the disruptive upstarts. It is this battleground that I believe will be the source of the greatest wealth creation and transfer over the next 10 years. The disruptors naturally are particularly active in those industries where they perceive the incumbents to be tied down by outdated technological infrastructure or business models and hard-pressed to counterattack. In some sense, Mark Andreessen underestimated his own prediction. It is actually technology that is eating the world. So using that as a backdrop, let's talk now about Canada and how Canada is reacting to what I see as the global trends. So in Canada, you will hear that we have twin goals, both of innovation and productivity. And I'm going to go through how I see both goals, which are very different, but they're actually complementary. And what I'm describing here is also not really just applying to Canada, because every country that I go to has a very, very similar strategy. So now we are in a global fight from an innovation and productivity perspective. So let's talk about the innovation agenda first. And let's look at Canada really since 2008, which I believe is really the commencement of this latest revolution. We have had more technology companies being spawned than ever in our history. Venture capital and angel investing have each hit all-time highs. One might even argue that the access to capital issue, which was very apparent at 2008, has largely been solved. Except I would admit that work probably needs to be done, particularly in the clean tech and life sciences sectors. We are attracting talent to the technology sector, both domestically and abroad, in record numbers. The access to talent agenda, while not solved, is well on its way. I would say that focus, though, still needs to be placed on the access to customers agenda. But efforts are currently underway, albeit we're in early stages. Opportunities such as ideas to promote government and corporate procurement, issues around data sovereignty and intellectual property, and a review of the current regulatory framework, largely for technological platforms. Now, Canada is a recognized leader in technology and has a number of cities, with Toronto leading the way, recognized as leading the global startup hubs. And finally, many sectors of the technology industry are well recognized on the global stage, with perhaps artificial intelligence recognized as a global strength. particularly here in the province of Ontario. So that's a little bit about the innovation agenda. Very, very promising. We've had the last 10 years of tremendous success, and I believe it will continue to prosper. What has been more interesting, though, particularly as of late, is really the productivity agenda. So like I said earlier, we tend to interchange productivity and innovation, but in fact they're complementary. Technically, productivity refers to the value of goods or services produced per unit of labor hour. And in order to increase productivity, you really have to do things. You either have to increase the value of goods or services that you produce, or you have to decrease your inputs or your human labor inputs largely through the introduction of technologies. But both require innovation, whether it's at the top line or on the bottom line. And this is where I'm seeing the most dramatic change, particularly over the last 3 years. Now, what we're seeing now is we're actually seeing the largest traditional industries such as banking, insurance, healthcare, real estate, the retail sector, virtually every single segment, including what many didn't think was technologically possible, but our entire resource sector, it's a technological battle from a global perspective. We're seeing that these industries now are realizing in Canada that they must be using the innovation that has been created over the last 10 years to not only compete effectively against the domestic upstarts in Canada, but like I said earlier, this is a global fight in that, really over the last 10 years, you no longer worried about your competition in your home country. You look at it globally and in multi-industries, as so many industries are starting to converge, and technology is at the core of many of these movements. And I think that success for Canada will be marked when we are having difficulty discerning whether a company is a traditional company or a technology company. In many respects, every company will need to be a technology company in order to survive. This is what I believe will be the future of Canada, and I could not be more excited for things to come. Thank you.